What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy United Core Class Infernac Universe Geocron, which is just a slight retool and a repaint of the Legacy United, or I think it was Legacy United. I can't exactly. I think it was Legacy United. Maybe it wasn't. But essentially, the other Legacy Core Class Infernac Universe Transformer in, or well, Rock Lord in Bouldercrash. Jesus, it took me a long time to say that because I couldn't think. I can't talk today, I guess. But taking a quick look at the box here. Obviously, Legacy United, the Infernac Universe Geocron there. You do have some nice artwork here of him in his bike mode. The Takara Tomy Transformers Generations right there as well. The 40 Years of Transformers art here on the side. Some more nice artwork of him in his vehicle mode. And then finally, the Your Obligatory Product shots. Now, I do like the Infernac Universe stuff, and it's nice to sort of have like an army of them, which is why I'm just going to end up keep buying them and stuff like that. Now, this is to your taste, and obviously when it comes to any figure like this, this is also their armorizers, so yeah. But with the box, as I always say, Hasbro usually kills it, and so without further ado, alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Legacy United Core Class Infernac Universe Geocron in his bike mode, and I gotta say, it looks fine. I will say, when I'm looking at both of these side by side, and obviously we'll compare the two, I do actually prefer Bouldercrash's paint, because I just like the colors a bit better, but this is perfectly fine. So taking a look at the vehicle mode, you can see the major change is obviously the brown as well as the purple, so you can see the nice purple is pretty cool here. It's like a metallic sheenish type thing here, very nice across the board with all of the purple paint. You have this nice little red spot here, which Bouldercrash doesn't get. And when it comes to molded differences, there really isn't that many molded differences between these two. The only real molded difference is just in the head. That's about it. But taking a look at it, it does look pretty cool, and you can obviously do a thing where you flip this down and then you can use that as a weapon. Also, another difference between this guy's paint details, he does get paint details like here, these purple bits. Also, this is painted here when it's not painted on Bouldercrash, so you get a little bit of a difference here. But the difference with Bouldercrash is obviously you sort of get a lot of that lava style, paint detailing across the board when it comes to that guy. So there are differences, and so you know what, we're just going to do comparisons. So let me zoom out a bit here, because we're going to bring in not just Bouldercrash, we're going to bring in some other figures as well. And so for comparison, we're going to set Geocron off to the side there. First off, here he is with Magnius, so if you also have Nucleus, you will have an idea of how big this guy is. But yeah, here's the size. Obviously, Deluxe versus Core. There's much more substantial weight to this guy in comparison to this guy, but you can see the differences here between them and their size. So pretty cool overall. These two do look great together, and Geocron, just like his other Infernac Universe brethren, despite him being much different color, much different vibe, at least in terms of like he has different sculpt and everything like that, a little bit, he does still feel like he is a part of the Infernac universe as a whole. I really do hope that we get another mold. I doubt it at this point, but I would have liked to get maybe a third mold, maybe in the Voyager scale. That would have been cool to have like a Voyager scale armorizer, but I know that there's obviously more popular characters that they could do, but I would have liked something like that. It would have been cool to have a little more variety instead of just doing remolds and retools and repaints and stuff like that. Here he is with Shard. Now, Shard obviously is a little bit different, because Shard here, he has like, he's more skinny in comparison to like Magnius or Nucleus, but he does still retain that heft in comparison to this guy. He is a bit of a thinner vehicle mode, so obviously these two are about almost the same width, especially if you exclude the blasters there on the side, but they do look very nice together. Again, these two do look like they're part of the same team or sort of the same universe, despite them being, very different when it comes to their colors, the molds, the sculpts. They do look like they are part of one another's universe. So very cool stuff there. And finally, the last comparison that we're actually going to be doing is with Bouldercrash. And when you compare these two, obviously the major difference you'll see is the paint. The paint is really there. Again, when I said molded differences, there really isn't any besides the head. And so you can see the details are a bit different. Like, this isn't as well painted as this, or stands out at least. It is a little bit, but not that much in comparison to the purples, and much more striking. You see you get all this like lava detailing here across the board when it comes to a Bouldercrash here, but you don't get any of that here. But in turn, These areas are painted, like the part what will become the knees and part of the forearms as well. This is not painted here. You can see that there's differences there. So they just changed up some of the paint detailing. You can also see this red spot does not exist here on Bouldercrash's vehicle mode. So yeah, overall, these two do look very nice together. But just so you know, because it's a core class figure, there really isn't that much in terms of molded differences that they're going to do, except for the head. And so, yeah. Alrighty, folks, it's time to get into the transformation, and I'm not actually going to be doing it on screen. If you want to see it, I will provide a link in the upper right so you guys can take a look at my Bouldercrash review. Definitely check that out if you want to see the full transformation. But just in short, it's not a hard transformation. It's a core class figure. These are meant to be relatively easy. These are more aimed towards the younger audience in general anyway. And so when it comes to their transformations, they're relatively simplistic, and this guy is no different. And his transformation is no different than Bouldercrash's, unless you're, instead of like if you're comparing like SS86 Springer, which has a slight difference in its transformation comparison to like Leader Springer in comparison to the Siege one, right? There's a slight difference in transformation. This is not the case here. So we are obviously going to take Bouldercrash almost. We're going to take Geocron from looking like this in his bike mode and into his robot mode. And so, guys, when it comes to Geocron here, he looks pretty cool, but there's really not that much difference between him and Bouldercrash. You know, when it comes to this, the only major difference is his head sculpt. And so we take a look at the head sculpt. It does look okay. I still prefer Bouldercrash, but I can see where they were going with this guy. I just wish there was a little more detail in there. I wish there was a little purple or something like that. Maybe like a headpiece, but I guess maybe they wanted to go for like that bald, round-headed look, which ends up working out for like a rock-based life form, right? It's like, you know, his head is literally like Geodude from Pokemon, right? So that sort of, you know, same energy, but I just wish there was a tad bit more detail, but the scowl is nice, like his like very, you know, terrifying looking smile. The weapon is basically the same thing, so if you guys don't know, all you have to do is, just like you folded it out, you just fold it down and then you have a peg right there. You can see that right there, and then you just peg it into his hand. This guy might have been a little bit tighter comparison to Bouldercrash, but when it comes to the quality between this mold and this version of the mold and Bouldercrash, there really isn't that much difference. I mean, maybe the waist is a little bit tighter on this one in comparison to Bouldercrash, but other than that, they're pretty much exactly the same when it comes to like their overall quality. So I have nothing to complain about when it comes to that. But yeah, you can see the details come out a bit more. The purple there, right? You can see the purple on the knees. But again, no real molded differences. The only eyesore, of this mold is this part. I do wish you could fold it somehow or something like that, because that looks... you guys already kind of get what I'm going for here. I think I might have mentioned that in the Bouldercrash review, but it's been a minute since I've even looked at that review, so... Yeah, when it comes to this guy, we're obviously going to be doing comparisons, and so we are going to set Mr. Geocron off to the side here. Here he is with Magnius, obviously a deluxe versus a core. There's going to be a big size difference here, but yeah, you can see that these two do look very nice together. Here he is with Shard. Shard, obviously another deluxe class figure, so there's a massive size difference here, but again, these two do look very nice together. And finally, here he is with his mold mate. Here he is with Bouldercrash. As you can see, it's really the difference in the head that's a major difference, and then a little bit of the paint detail as well. But overall, these two are relatively similar, and I'd say you wouldn't be remiss with grabbing either one of these when it comes to both of these molds. They're both perfectly fine. They're about the same quality. Like, there's really nothing wrong with them. Alrighty, folks, it's time to get into the articulation. When it comes to the articulation, it's pretty solid for a core class figure, actually. So the head's on the ball joint, so you can look a little bit down. Actually, you can look a lot of it down. You can look a decent bit up, which is actually, you can look more down than some really higher class figures. Do a full 360 as well. You can do a full 360 at the shoulder. You have a ball joint here at the elbow, so you can rotate there, full 360, and then you do have a little more than 90, like slightly more, but it's arguably 90. You do get full waist, but it's a bit finicky because of the way that this is, so you end up running a lot of this crap on his lower waist into, you know, like his thighs and everything like that. But you can kick forward about that far. You can kick back about that far as well. You get 90 at the knee, then you get a like a knee rotation as well. No ankle rocker though, because, you know, it's a core class figure. What very little core class figures have ever really had, you know, major ankle rocker pivot. So when it comes to this guy's articulation, it is perfectly fine. And so, guys, the last thing I'll talk about is very similar to Bouldercrash. You can obviously make this guy like into a weapon, and so I'll show that you'll see it in the picture. I'll probably end up having him being used as a weapon again by Magnus or Shard or something like that. But yeah, you guys can see that it's cool. I do like the armorizer gimmick here, except the difference is with these guys, you can't really take this guy apart. This guy is like a whole weapon in and of himself. When you compare him to like Shard, you compare him to Magnus or Nucleus. Those guys you can actually take apart and you can stuff their parts all over. This guy really isn't that much of the same in that same vein, right? He's more like an entire weapon as himself. So you transform him into his bike mode, and then you can literally wield the bike mode blade as the weapon. So there's not really anything else beyond that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing because he is obviously a core class figure. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Alrighty guys, and the last thing obviously to talk about here is the reverse transformation. And when it comes to the reverse transformation, it is just as simple as getting this guy to robot mode. It's a core class figure, not really that difficult. In my opinion, the worst part about getting this guy both into his robot mode and back from his robot mode into his vehicle mode is twisting the waist, because it ends up bumping into a lot of crap, and it is annoying. Sometimes you end up pulling the leg off the ball joint, but it ends up being pretty easy just to reconnect in like a couple seconds. So just wanted to point that out, but obviously we're going to take Geocron from this in his robot mode, and back into this in his bike mode. And so guys, for my final and concluding thoughts on the Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Core Class Geocron, this guy is perfectly fine. He is not any worse than Bouldercrash, and he's not any better than Bouldercrash. Again, like I said earlier, I just kind of wish that they would have made a fourth mold, whether there was another Deluxe, a Voyager would have been pretty cool. I get, again, that there are characters that probably deserve that Voyager Deluxe slot better than another one of these armorizers, because these are, mainly aimed at the fun of, messing around and, giving them as weapons to other Transformers and stuff like that, mixing and matching. But it doesn't make me wish that there was doesn't make me wish that there wasn't another mold. I do wish that there might have been another mold so that there was a little bit more variety instead of just the 3 different molds we got. And I know we got a couple recolors and repaints of Magnus and now obviously a Bouldercrash, but yeah, I do wish that there was that. But that doesn't detract from this figure. That's just something I'd like to talk about. So when it comes to the paint detail, the detail and the changes in the molding, there really isn't that much besides a little bit of the paint when it comes to like where the extra detail is applied. Obviously he's a completely different color, but that doesn't really count in this because it's meant to be like that in a repaint and a remold. And the head, although I do think is a nice remold, I do wish that there was just a little bit more detail in it. The scowl is definitely like the scowl smile is definitely the best part about the head sculpt, and it does look pretty cool. I wish there was a bit more detail to the head, or they may have redesigned it a little bit. And so, like I said, this guy is not any worse than Bouldercrash, and he's not any better. And so I'm going to give him the exact same score as I did Bouldercrash. I'm going to give this guy an 8 out of 10. If you are collecting the Infernac Universe stuff, obviously, I do recommend you go ahead and pick this guy up. I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so leave a link in the description to that. Also, leave links to Hasbro Pulse as well as Amazon, so you guys can find other retailers if you'd like to do that. Now, when it comes to this guy hitting retail, I expect him to hit retail relatively soon. I am reviewing this maybe a week or so after I got him in the mail, because I've had some other stuff going on in my life that I've had to take care of. But when it comes to this guy, I do think that he is worth picking up if you're picking up the Infernac Universe stuff. If you don't care for it, then obviously skip it. So yeah, I think really that is about it for the review. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also follow me on the socials. Those will be linked in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video review. And I'll catch you on the next one. And get ready for the next one, folks. This one is going to be a big one. Once again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video review. I'll catch you on the next one. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.